Hey, it's me again. While we're at it, let's talk about fraud. So, right here is an email from the school registrar where she's actually acknowledging the cost of this winter term. And this winter term is important because this is the same term that Veterans Voc Rehab also paid the school. So this is the school the tuition for this month, meaning this is how much uh, uh, I ended up giving the school minus uh, with the credits included. Um, so that's how much I paid the school for winter term, and that's also how much the VA paid the school for winter term. Here, as you can see right here, here is my benefits letter. You can see the date of acceptance is uh, 11/30/2020, meaning this was still in the fall term, meaning that the first term that it would start paying would be the winter term, um, starting in January. So the school never gave me the money back, ever. And I'm going to prove that to you too. Uh, Portland Fashion Institute never paid me. Now, back to this winter term. So, the key takeaway from this is industrial machine sewing was dropped this term. I paid for it, and it was dropped. Now, if you look at the summer term, this is also the term that I was wrongfully dismissed from. You will see that the industrial machine sewing, which was the class that they screwed me with, they didn't charge the VA because I had credit for it, which came out of my own pocket. So instead of having the VA pay for it, they had me pay for it. They used my credit for it instead of charging the VA. So they didn't give me any of the other money either. So, but that's just one of the classes showing that they used that credit. Instead of using my Veterans Voc Rehab benefits, they used my credit that they owed me. Now, again, reminder, this is the class that they switched on, but where they kept screwing with me, and where I officially told the owner that I'm being screwed, and the owner obviously ignored me because here we are. Obviously, me again explaining what's going on, telling the owner what's going on. Again, remember that's the industrial sewing machine class right here. Again, so it's a class that they used my credit to pay for, that I have proof exists, and yet if you look at my official transcript, it is nowhere to be seen. So they kind of have a way of making my credits disappear, and I'm pretty sure they make other students' credits disappear too. And I'm going to show you how they do it. So I'm going to show you an example of just a few of the games they play in order to steal our money. So the two key takeaways from this is, you remember right here, pattern 2, you'll be reminded throughout, but we'll come back to this so you don't have to memorize it all, remember it like that, but just keep in mind pattern 2 are what we're looking at, and digital illustration, and I'll show you why these classes came in direct conflict with each other. So what happened was we missed some classes because school was canceled, and they send us all like letters saying, "Hey, don't come to class today." So what happened was that ended up happening enough times that for our spring break, we ended up having to some of the classes ended up having to use their spring break to um, to make up for they had to add an extra class at the end of the term, and that class landed on spring break is what I'm trying to say. And so now that day that it happened to fall on also happened to fall on the same day as another class that I was scheduled in, which is digital illustration. And that was why I was waiting to hear it back, because I said, hey, I missed the class because I was in another class at school that day. And this is what I get back. She said, the makeup class for pattern 2 was not on the same day as digital illustrations. Digital illustration was during spring break, the only class that was going on that week. All right, so here we are. Oops. Here's the email from the owner of the school showing us the class makeup dates. So your teacher set the dates to make up for classes missed due to winter weather. Mark your calendars. Remember, this is where the two classes are come together. So check your calendars for pattern 2. The makeup day for pattern 2 is Saturday, February 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Now, we look at digital illustration. Saturday, February 27th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So, literally, the classes were scheduled at the same exact time. They know that, and this is what they tell me. Or this is what they do. They fail me in the class for non-attendance. Even though I was at the school, I was just at a different class. But it gets better, of course. So, look at this. So, not only did they give me a failure for the FN means failure for non-attendance. So, not only did they give me a failure for non-attendance in digital illustration, but they also gave me a failure for non-attendance in pattern 2. The other class that I told you to watch it, keep an eye on. So they failed me for 2 classes. Now, did I fail pattern 2 for non-attendance? Well, let's look at some emails. Actually, now I want to say something I want to explain exactly why this hate is coming. So, you're not going to believe me when I first say this, but when I first designed this dress, it was for a class, and it was so well received that my teachers call me artistic genius, like, because this is the first fashion design I ever designed. So, like, basically, people call me like a prodigy, and so I was super excited about this because the thing is, I just started learning how to do fashion design at the beginning of the pandemic is when I started. And I started learning how to sew like shortly before that. And so, like, the thing is about fashion design school, like, as far as design goes, they have nothing that really that it's gonna change my design style that much, because I already know what I want. Like, and I already have a vision, and they might give me a few ideas, but I mean, this is not even like one of my complicated ideas. This is just like my first time designing something, trying to do my homework kind of design. And so I was super excited about this design. I didn't know how to sew it. So on one of the days, I came in for an open sewing session, and I so wanted to show the owner of the school, the design, and I was so excited, and I showed it to her, and I didn't get the reaction that I expected. Like, she literally got angry at me when I showed it to her, and like, I was hoping, like, she'd be like proud that like one of her fashion design students, like was designing like that because other teachers were. But no, she wasn't proud. She was angry. And I told her that I didn't know how to sew it. And so I was going to uh, hire one of the teachers for private lessons to teach me how to sew the dress because I wanted to learn. Because according to the school website, private lessons are to impart on anyone any skill or to give any help with any project that anyone wants to do. There's no limitations that are being placed. There's nothing. Anybody could go to private lessons and pay your teacher $45 an hour to teach you whatever you want. That's the rules for everybody in the school. And so when I told the teacher that I wanted to learn how to pay a teacher for private lessons to teach me, she got even angrier and she forbid me from even asking a teacher at the school for private lessons. Like, she forbid me from asking for private lessons. I was not allowed to. Like, I mean, like you shall not pass kind of forbid me. Like, and that's exactly what she did. And after that, our relationship changed. And I'm going to prove that to you, that as soon as I designed this dress, my entire fashion design career at Portland Fashion Institute went down the shitter. Like, this is when the owner of the school and the school registrar decided to destroy my fashion design career before it even started. So, like, I'm not gonna make you believe me that teachers were saying like how well received it was, but I'm gonna show you. So this is my teacher right here. She's explaining to me why she gave me such a low grade on the project, because the basically there was requirements that I said, fuck it, I know how I'm gonna design. Fulfilling these requirements will not help me as a designer. Like, they'll get me a good grade, but I don't care about my grade. I want to be a good designer. And so I decided to design that against like the parameters of the project, because I didn't care about the outcome. Like, and so the teacher is saying, Shane, your artistic genius are obvious, and I understand that sketching is not your forte, which is why you submitted a digital collage and omitted the illustrations. Know that there are designers that don't know how to draw and are still successful. Unfortunately, I have to grade the illustration in this class, which reflects the grade. Please don't be discouraged by this. I'm excited to see your work in the industry in the future. I'm rooting for you. So, I mean, my teacher, like, my people had this high expectations for my career, like, but the owner of the school just couldn't stand that. The school registrar, they could not stand that. And so they decided to destroy my career. And so let me show you. So this is a copy of my final transcript. And so right here is my official transcript in all its entirety. This is, I went to Portland Fashion Institute for a total of 6 terms. So here were my grades before I designed that project. And again, like I said, I agreed with my teacher's grade, so I'm not questioning this grade. Like, my teacher didn't do anything wrong. Her grading was fair. But so I designed that project. I turned it in as my final project. And then here's the winter term, the first term after that project was turned in. And look, my grades went like 3.38. And then after the next term, fail for non-attendance. My grade dropped by almost a full 1 point. and then the next term, F. And we're going to talk about every single one of these bad grades, so don't worry. Like, it's not even, you don't even have to trust me. I'm going to show you. So just stay with me on this. Like, so the F's, and then obviously that the class that I showed you, the industrial machine sewing, that should be right here because they used it as their ammunition in order to get me wrongfully dismissed. That's not here. So, but obviously, so look at the grades. Boom. All of these, we're doing good. I turn in this final project that pisses off the owner of the school. Like I said, pissed off. And then all of a sudden, within 3 terms, I'm failed out of the school. My GPA went from a 3.38 to a 2.18 over the course of 2 terms. Now, let's talk about those bad grades. Let's talk about pattern 2. So based on your academic process in pattern 2, this is winter term, you can either register for Saturday opening sewing or retake the sewing class spring. So I'm gonna be honest, I struggled, but I should have passed it. And so right there, never said anything about failing it for non-attendance though. They're saying that based off the academic progress, meaning like I was struggling in the class a little bit, like academically, but it had nothing to do with my attendance. So, and then she said, I just heard from the instructor plus director, they have determined that you should retake pattern 2 rather than take open sewing sessions. Well, there's a difference between retake and failed for non-attendance, because that definitely does not say anything about patterns to me failing it for non-attendance. I think that if that was the truth, that they would have said something. And I showed you that the reason why I failed for non-attendance in diligent illustration was because I had a class that was simultaneously scheduled at the same time that the school knows, and they failed me for it anyway. Now, let's talk about overseas production. So, because you have missed 3 of the 6 overseas production class sessions, we are canceling your registration for this term's class. You'll receive an incomplete for this class. Well, I'm innocent. It's not my fault, but I'm just gonna defend myself just purely off this stupidity. So, in this instance, if I missed 3 or more class, then I would fail for non-attendance, but I wouldn't get an F. I'd get an FN. So this right here, according to this email, which is BS in the first place, I should have at least an FN right there. But no, they put that I failed the class, which isn't true. Clearly, since the owner of the school said so. So according to the owner of the school in this email, I should have got failed for non-attendance, not an F. Now, let's talk about what really happened and the actual reality of why I failed for non-attendance and why I missed those 3 classes. So, the thing is, when I first started spring term, this term, I was enrolled in 9 different classes, and that's how many and they dropped me from all of those 9 classes except for intermediate sewing women's pants and sustainability fashion technology, because overseas production wasn't even on the original schedule that I was sent, or the next schedule I was sent, or the next schedule I was sent. I think it was like the 4th or 5th schedule I got sent that at first said overseas production. But the thing is, because they kept dropping me from these classes, one class they dropped me from the day of the class. I found out that I was dropped from the class because I tried to log on to my student online account so I could attend the class, and I freaked out because I wasn't even I was no longer enrolled in the class online. And so I had to call the school And when I called the school, they answered, and it was the first time they'd answered this phone in months. Actually, I was really surprised they answered, um, and which was April 21st, and I was talking to him about the Adobe Illustrator getting dropped from it. But I got confused on that because, as well, it was just this confusing mess. And so I didn't know I was in overseas production, to be honest with you, just because it was just a clusterfuck because of the scheduling, because they kept changing my classes. They changed my schedule like 8 times that term. And so the thing is, according to the school's official policy, students missing 2 classes of a course will be notified by the director in writing. So that means that, because the school didn't first notify me that I was missing the overseas production until after my 3rd absence. So after your 3rd absence, you fail for non-attendance. So in order for the school to fail me out of that class, they broke their own policy, because they should have notified me after my 2nd absence in writing to notify me saying that I had been missing my classes, because I hadn't missed any of my other classes. I was showing up on time. Like, my attendance was good. I was on time. And so it was just this one class I was missing. And they knew I was missing it, and they kept seeing I was showing up to all my other classes, but not showing up to this class. And they didn't notify me until after it was too late for me to have a chance to, because if they would have notified me after my 2nd class, I could have, on the 3rd week, explained the situation, done all the homework in the single week, done all next week's homework, and I would have been caught up within the next class. I would have been caught up. Like, had they followed their own policy and notified me after the 2nd absence, this wouldn't have happened. But this should be based off of their own emails. This should be failed for non-attendance and not F. But as I just showed you, like, they didn't notify me until after the 3rd absence, meaning that the failure for non-attendance, like, it wasn't even my fault, because they violated their own policies for me to get that failure of non-attendance. So I should have had a credit for this class, and not an F, not a failure for non-attendance, nothing like that. But again, this is what these are the games. This is how the school takes your money. This is how they just cheat you out of credits. And they do this over and over again. And, like, it's just ridiculous. But again, like, based off of the owner's email right here, this shouldn't be an F. This should be a failure for non-attendance and not an F. As I showed you right here, this shouldn't even be a failure for non-attendance. This should be just an incomplete. I don't know. All I know is it shouldn't have affected my GPA. But it did, and it dropped me down to a 2.8, which was how they showed this. They used this history of failures for non-attendance and bad grades as a way to get me kicked out of Voc Rehab, because they used this as a way to show a history of this behavior that didn't exist. That's the lie. And so, like, as you can see, my official transcripts has been falsified based off their own emails, based off their own policies. It's been falsified. And so here's the spring schedule. This is the original schedule. These are my original classes. I told you I was in 9 different classes. So here's these. I was enrolled in industrial machine sewing again, but I got dropped from that class again, and that credit carried over to my summer term, which that credit was a rollover credit from when I paid, which the school paid this VA my credit instead of using Voc Rehab to pay for my schooling like they should have. But so, like, as you can see, can you imagine? Like, I started out with 9 classes, and if you look on here, overseas production, it's not even on the original 9 classes. So again, like, it got added after the fact. Like, they kept sending me just so many changes, and I got lost in the changes because they kept dropping me from classes the day of, the day before class. They dropped me from a class like the day before class, and that's what screwed me up, is because I got confused which class I got dropped from, and then yeah, so that's why I missed class for none. That's why I missed the classes. Is because I was confused on my schedule, because like that was my original spring schedule, and as you can see from my official transcript, it looks completely different, and these are the classes we paid for, and that they VA to the voice the invoice, and so right there, and but this is the only classes that they left in my official record, because they dropped them all after they had charged the money for them to the VA. So like, they definitely need an audit, because this is what they're charging the VA, but this is what's on my official transcript. Like I said, VA invoiced 9 classes. Boom, boom. Now, these classes in particular are important to keep an eye on, because these are the real clinchers. These are what makes this really interesting. All right, so this is why these 2 classes are so interesting. Like, this is my fall class. Here's my spring schedule that they invoiced to the VA. Now, if you see right here, activewear, like this got, like all these got dropped, obviously. Activewear has a credit according to the fall term, but according to this VA invoice, the NITS was charged again to the VA. Invoice to the VA. So again, they drop the classes, say you don't meet the qualifications for them, you'll get a credit, and then they wait till you forget it, and then they charge you again later on. Or in my case, they just don't give me any refunds, and they spend my refund money on my classes rather than using my Voc Rehab benefits, because they're super people. I've talked to 3 students, including myself, who has had the same scheduling issues with the school registrar as I have, where they get scheduled for classes that they do not meet the prerequisites for, and then they get dropped and told that they get a credit. Now, no one's made any allegations as far as their credits being taken. So I'm not saying that. I am just saying that as far as being registered for class you don't meet the qualifications from, being dropped, and then like having a credit to be used later. No one's ever commented about the credits after the fact. All I know is you saw for yourself what happens when, with my classes, they as you saw, the one class I had a credit for, they charged the VA for both classes, but one class I had a credit for two semesters down, and the other class I didn't. So the VA got charged again. Again, fraud. These people need to go to jail. But yeah, like the school registrar and the owner of the school are freaking terrorists. Like, they should not be any place but behind bars. So I want you all to know this is the end. Yay for you. To all of you who are watching this who don't intend to fuck me, or who are on my side, thank you. To all the key players who tried to screw me, fuck off, fuck you. Giving you what deserve was as easy as stealing candy from a moron. Shane Cofield, the better designer and warrior, regardless of the battlefield. I want you ladies to know that I've had bigger and badder people than you try to destroy my life, and not one of them has been successful. So you weren't much of a threat, ever. I know you thought you were, but congrats. That's what an idiot is